che siamo live.
Buonasera.
Buonasera. Abbiamo già qualcuno che ci segue, abbiamo Davide, abbiamo Mike. E quindi .NET 10. Via questo tanto per il momento. Allora, ovviamente noi stavamo chiacchierando prima nell'attesa sul aspettative e quant'altro. E anche ciao Tony. Quindi noi siamo prontissimi, aspettando che qui si cominci, ma per il momento comunque direi che al momento quello che ha smanettato di più per ovvi motivi con la roba nuova è Tommaso, il che significa che tutte le domande saranno dirette a lui.
Esattamente.
Esatto. Potete fare forward a DevNull.
Ciao Luca e ciao, io direi che credo che sia Edoardo con questo The NET Club, perché anche se vedi un piccolo, ma quell'avatar mi dà tanto l'idea di essere lui. Vabbè, allora
Io non vedo la chat dei partecipanti, Andrea.
Mi sa che StreamYard la fa vedere solo al regista.
Ok, va bene.
Sì, non
vabbè, tanto
forse perché
canale oggi di YouTube.
Forse. Ah, sì.
Beh, il canale UG.NET di YouTube, non il canale YouTube di UG.NET.
Esatto.
Praticamente come UG abbiamo acquisito YouTube e questa live in realtà era proprio, come dire, un pretesto soltanto per poterlo annunciare.
Beh, ci sta. Aspetta che apro la live da YouTube e la metto in muto, però, perché
anch'io sono sul telefono, magari.
Ciao Jody.
Così almeno vedo la live chat. Grande Jody.
Mitici.
Vabbè, intanto che aspettiamo, cazzeggiamo, ricordiamo a tutte e tutti che .NET Conference è straesaurita, ma abbiamo...
L'organizzatore è esaurito.
Anche l'organizzatore, sì, assolutamente. Ma abbiamo lo streaming. Di Cloud Day non parleremo nemmeno perché anche quello è esaurito, ma non avremo lo streaming, quindi sorry. Quindi il mio consiglio è: abbiamo lanciato Global Azure e Web Day per l'anno prossimo. Io mi iscriverei perché poi va sold out e poi è il sottoscritto che deve rispondere alle mail e dire no. Allora mi farò un agente che personalizza il no per dirtelo in modo carino, oppure però bene, dai, sono contento. Quindi con Tom e Alberto noi ci vediamo di persona sicuri il 28, quindi di novembre in Microsoft, no?
Sì. Ci vediamo in Microsoft il 28 di persona e io parlerò di un argomento di cui non ho mai parlato in tutta la mia vita, che è Aspire. Tu, Albi, cos'è che porti?
È anche un argomento che non tratto mai perché parlerò di Blazor, quindi...
Ah, beh.
Tra l'altro, a proposito di Aspire, perché il ragazzo è timido, ma io vi ricordo che c'è il corso gratuito di Tom proprio in merito ad Aspire, al link che ho postato nella chat.
Quindi... Sì, dovremmo fare forse anche un refresh dopo oggi di questo corso.
Vorrei ben vedere.
Cambiate tante cose.
Vabbè, cioè, ma tanto il 28 frusterò entrambi, a te per il refresh e ad Alberto perché sa lui qual è quello che deve...
Perché va frustrato a prescindere.
Esatto.
C'è un motivo in realtà.
Vabbè, ma così, perché come batteristi, no? Io posso provare a usare una frusta per lato.
Intanto sotto mi sa che è partito perché musichetta di sottofondo su Andrea che perché
9 minuti, beh, direi che innanzitutto dalla chat, ciao Alberto, diteci il volume come
è alto.
va.
È alto? No, cioè, quello del video è molto alto.
Almeno in cuffia,
adesso...
poi non so.
Esatto. Sì. Anche un po' meno forse.
Come va il volume adesso?
È molto preponderante, cioè va bene per quando parleranno, visto per ora che c'è la musichetta lo metterei un pochino più basso perché
lo spengo proprio.
Sì. No, per quando parleranno va bene, tanto
sì, certo.
gente intelligente che parla.
Appunto il corso di Aspire di Tom, bruciatelo, consumatelo e poi fategli un sacco di domande.
Sì, il corso in realtà, a parte gli scherzi, era un corso introduttivo a Aspire, è quello che la parte, diciamo, introduttiva di che cos'è, come si usa, eccetera, rimane valida anche dopo oggi. Dopo oggi si potrà magari espandere un po' di più su certe cose. Si potrebbe fare un moduletto in più.
Non ti cacciare più nei guai di quanto...
No, infatti, esatto, perché poi dopo faccio promesse che Andrea mi costringe a mantenere.
Ma è per la community.
Esatto. Sempre. C'è l'URL di .NETconference.it che sta coprendo brutalmente Alberto.
Sì, dai, non si perde niente, dai, mettiamola così.
Va bene, approfitto sempre per un po' di spamming per coprire nuovamente Alberto.
Vai.
E dire che se state cercando un nuovo lavoro o lavorate per un'azienda che sta cercando, cercate su Improve, tanto l'account è lo stesso di tutto il network di community, quindi fate login con l'account che usate già per Azure Meetup Milano, IA Italy, UG.NET o Cloud Champions, e che poi è anche lo stesso account per il corso Aspire di Tom, e qui trovate le inserzioni che selezioniamo, o potete pubblicarle e farne pubblicare 6 minuti. 6 minuti.
Io stavo guardando l'agenda della .NET Conf e mi sa che passerò buona parte della serata poi a guardarla. Quindi buona pace di mia moglie, però è molto interessante. Ma anche domani, tra l'altro. Domani purtroppo non credo di riuscire a seguirla. Però quindi dovrò recuperare per forza, quindi indovinate chi passerà il weekend davanti al PC. Però al netto di quello è molto interessante, copre davvero un po' tutto quanto e anche gli argomenti sono molto fighi secondo me.
Beh, è un bel momento questo, nel senso che la trovo una iniziativa interessante, una conf verticale tutta per noi, online, perché insomma Redmond non è proprio dietro l'angolo, quindi sono stato un po' di volte, so che è complicato arrivarci, quindi secondo me è una bella iniziativa. Cioè, sono veramente, come dire, è una cosa che avrebbero potuto col senno di poi, vabbè, col senno di poi siamo sempre capaci tutte e tutti, però che potevano iniziare a fare anche prima, perché è un buon modo per condividere, ingaggiare, ma dare anche un'idea di dove si vuole andare. Probabilmente prima era annegata un po' tra il vecchio TechEd e poi Build, invece oramai è proprio una dignità sua, .NET e l'ecosistema.
Tra l'altro sono molto belli anche i community stand-up che stanno facendo un po' di anni a questa parte di .NET. Ogni tanto riesco a riguardarli o a seguirli e secondo me sono anche super interessanti quelli che fanno sul canale YouTube di .NET proprio.
No, io non ce la faccio. Cioè, proprio per una questione di tempistica, però tutte le persone che conosco che riescono anche solo ogni tanto a seguirlo mi dicono esattamente questa cosa.
Sì, perché è un punto di contatto in generale anche col team che sta sviluppando le varie feature, vedi cosa stanno facendo, vedi dove stanno andando le cose, quindi secondo me anche quello è un bel viatico per veicolare un po' il tutto.
Totti ha una domanda: Insider o 2026? Boh, aspetta 4 minuti.
Poi c'è anche il canale YouTube di Aspire adesso da seguire.
Sì.
Che Aspire ha branchato. Aspire si è staccato, vabbè, poi anche oggi penso ne parleranno, però si è un po' staccato dalla parte di .NET, non è più .NET Aspire, anche se vai a vedere sull'overview hanno il loro website che è aspire.dev e hanno il loro canale YouTube Aspire dove facciamo anche le live di Aspire Fridays, dove prima o poi Andrea tu dovrai portare in prova ad Aspire Fridays.
Va bene.
Puoi avere David Fowler che ti fa code review dicendoti quanto sei stato...
Potevi fermarti a poi avere David Fowler.
Puoi avere David Fowler. Andiamo assieme. L'ultimo episodio che ho fatto l'ho fatto con Jerry Nixon, che abbiamo portato un Data API Builder e abbiamo aspirificato la repo di Data API Builder.
Ho visto un po', non tutto perché sono 5 ore di live, mannaggia.
Sì, è una live pazzesca quella, perché a un certo punto avevamo finito con SQL e Damian ha detto, beh dai, mettiamo anche Postgres, ci metteremo 10 minuti, e 2 ore dopo, alle 11 di sera ora italiana, Chiara mi mandava un messaggio dicendo, amore, ma vuoi un caffè per caso? Ho detto, guarda, sì, grazie.
Comunque ce l'ho anch'io la cosa di provare a mandare qualcosa per Aspire Friday, vedrò, perché mi tenta particolarmente.
E è bello, più che altro si impara tanto sia dal punto di vista, cioè comunque chi porta la repo ha un suo ritorno, perché poi se aggiungi Aspire ed ha un motivo, e c'è un motivo per farlo, ne vale la pena, e anche il team abbiamo imparato tanto. Un sacco di cose di Aspire 13 che vedremo oggi derivano dagli episodi di Aspire Fridays che abbiamo fatto.
Bello. Bello, molto. Ogni tanto provo a guardarlo ogni tanto, ma a parte che sono lunghe, quindi è difficile anche poi stare dietro, perché quando fai 4 ore di video
no, quello è vero.
Pesantino. Però effettivamente è bello, è molto bello, cioè si vede che c'è proprio un bel cameratismo, perché si ride, si scherza, fanno robe, smontano cose, è proprio bello.
La PM media è abbastanza particolare, è molto, molto scialla come persona, non è impostata. Poi ci sono un paio di rockstar dietro. Anche Scott Hanselman ha preso il suo scottanselman.com net, non mi ricordo, e l'ha aspirizzato. 30 secondi.
Quella l'ho vista, molto bella. Hanselman, ragazzi, scusate, Scott Hanselman è Scott Hanselman.
Vabbè. Allora, dai che ci siamo quasi. Io ricordo a tutti che la chat c'è perché siamo insieme, questa cosa la facciamo assieme, quindi interagiamo, chiacchieriamo, via. Vediamo.
Leonardo in chat dice spumante pronto, quindi grande Leonardo.
I want as much of the snappy thing. I want one of those for the house. Did you, in fact, write ASP.NET MVC single-handedly on an airplane and then land and then hand it to people and say, here, I've written MVC?
No, not entirely.
Not entirely. Not entirely.
There were 2 or 3 airplanes, though. I think someone back in 2000 at the first that we called PDC, where we released it, would still recognize a lot of the good elements of .NET that we think of today. And at the same time, I love the fact that we've evolved it so that it's not just the same thing that it was 25 years ago. And there's a whole bunch of new goodness that's been added over the years.
The idea that we were able to run the .NET migration and modernization tool on a 20-year-old code base and bring it to the future. I could write stuff in C# 20, 25 years ago, reapproach that code base today, and take it anywhere, even on devices that didn't exist, is one of the most exciting things to me about .NET.
The embrace of Linux, the embrace of cloud, the embrace of open source. There's a whole community of developers that wanted something that wasn't an IDE and wanted command line and wanted more of a lightweight code editor and wanted multi-platform.
I love throwing fun things out. I was told by Scott you're allowed one reboot in your career. And we managed to not get fired doing it.
Thank you for keeping the flame alive.
Don't hit stop. This is all good stuff.
Maglietta di Scott Hanselman è geniale. Will code for
Hey
tacos.
friends, welcome to .NET Conf. I'm Scott Hanselman, Vice President of Developer Community, coming to you live here at Microsoft in Redmond, Washington. Over the next 3 days, we're going to hear from our team, from partners, and from you, the .NET community, about what's new in .NET and all the amazing things that people are building with .NET today to meet their needs of tomorrow. Now, as you probably know, our goal with .NET is to build a complete development platform that developers love, that businesses trust. It hopefully enables developers to build modern apps with a high-performance runtime, best-in-class programming languages and development tools, and a vast and vibrant ecosystem that is powered by all the amazing developers like you around the world. We, the team, want to thank you for all the energy that you're putting into supporting and sustaining the community and just generally building epic things. Let's take a second and let's look at our incredible adoption. The momentum is bananas. We see over 7 million .NET developers using the Visual Studio family of products monthly. And since open sourcing .NET, we've had over 290,000 pull requests merged to .NET repositories from the community, with over 23,000 pull requests merged to .NET 10 alone. And more than 68,000 people have contributed code and filed issues to make .NET what it is today. So kudos to you, absolutely incredible. And since 2020, .NET has been one of the highest velocity open source projects. And velocity, it's a cloud native computing CNCF metric that tracks open source project activity. And C# is consistently ranked in the top 5 programming languages on GitHub. Pretty fantastic. Now, .NET powers lots of the products and services here at Microsoft as well. And a lot of these really rely on .NET performance improvements from release to reduce cost and to increase scale. There's a couple of big call-outs, like Bing. They have been running on .NET 10 release candidates in a couple of their data centers, and they've seen really noticeable improvements on their P90 latency. That's the idea that 90% of their requests meet a certain latency metric. And there are no blockers, and they're going to be rolling out .NET 10 soon. Now, Xbox Gaming Copilot, they actually use the entire .NET stack. They use Microsoft extensions for AI, Orleans, Aspire, and the MCP C# SDK to build their AI-powered assistant. Another good one is Copilot Studio. It's actually a Blazor WebAssembly app. It uses the MCP C# SDK. We're going to talk a little bit about MCP later in the keynote, and a lot more in the sessions later today. Now, it's not only just teams here at Microsoft, but companies all over the world that trust .NET every day. Chipotle mentioned, to power their businesses. You're going to hear from some of them during the conference and how they're building some of their incredible apps with .NET. So thanks to all of these friends for the great work.
Un giorno avremo improve.
Now, with that, I am excited and honored and thrilled to announce that the best version of .NET yet is out. .NET 10 is released and available today. So go download now. I'll wait here. We're good? We upgraded? Is everyone excited? There's also a new version of C#, C# 14, with improved performance up and down the stack. It's got a ton of new features to help you build for today and for tomorrow's apps. Another thing worth noting is that .NET 10 is also a long-term support release, which means that you get free support and patches for 3 years. Also releasing general availability today is Visual Studio 2026. This is the flagship IDE. It's faster, it's smarter, it's more connected than ever, and it's also optimized for .NET 10, which comes in right out of the box.
Vabbè, ho mentito, Totti, 8 minuti, non 3, va bene lo stesso.
It's also got a nice visual refresh, a modern look and feel. It's going to let you focus on the code. You've got GitHub Copilot capabilities for profiling, testing, and modernization that you're going to see today built in as well. Visual Studio 2026 also available right now, so go download it. I also want to thank everyone that helped us build .NET 10, contributed to our repositories, and I want to highlight some of our partners. These are partners with really significant contributions to .NET 10 and the whole ecosystem. And this includes distro maintainers and security partners like Red Hat, Canonical, and IBM. Software partners helping us build .NET MAUI and its core components. Shout out to our friends Syncfusion and Uno platform, as well as hardware partners like AMD and Intel for contributing to the core of .NET with low-level hardware intrinsics, helping us enable significant performance improvements for computationally intensive tasks like AI workloads. And then our buddies at Samsung for their work on instruction set architecture, doing a bring up for RISC-V and ARM, preparing .NET for a future that is bright. Also, and most importantly, thank you. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for all the contributors that have made incredible improvements to .NET for the .NET 10 release. I hope you see yourself in the matrix of faces here, because we couldn't do it without you. You can go to thanks.dot.net to look for your name and your contributions as well. Now, I've been doing this a long time, and since the release of .NET Framework 4.8, you know, Microsoft has transformed .NET into a really efficient cross-platform runtime, and the performance gains are order of magnitude. Through a decade of layered investments, tiered compilation, dynamic PGO, guarded devirtualization, deep refinements in the jitter, in the garbage collector, .NET 10 executes high-level C# with the efficiency of hand-tuned native code. And with .NET's new adaptive garbage collection, it's really considerably improved memory usage while improving throughput and scalability. Now, we did a test a little while back on an internal version of the Tech Empower Fortunes benchmark. This is a benchmark that compares tech stacks against a kind of a realistic app scenario that also does include data access. .NET 10 uses 93% less memory, 93% less than .NET 8, and sees a 15% increase in requests per second. Now, you can look at version to version, but if you think about the leap from .NET Framework 4.8, which some of you are still using, to .NET 10, you're going to get amazing numbers. And this is not just the result of a single breakthrough. This is a decade-long strategy that is aiming to make .NET the most performant development platform that Microsoft ever created. And we've got improvements up and down the whole stack, from the runtime up through the libraries, all the way up to higher level frameworks like ASP.NET. Those hardware intrinsics for fine-tuning vectorized implementations, bubbling up through .NET standard libraries, so that APIs just get faster every version without you having to change your code. We've got new primitives like span pervading the whole stack, enabling safe code with low allocation and high throughput. And for organizations, the point of this work is that it translates into faster time to results. Oftentimes without you touching a line of application code, things just get better. And upgrading to .NET 10 is not just a feature update. Okay? This is a performance windfall that I think redefines what you should expect from a managed runtime. If you've ever seen Stephen Tobe's posts on performance, he's been chronicling this incredible journey on our blog. These blog posts are so long, they may crash your browser with all of the goodness. There is a ton of amazing stuff in our new secure, fast, and future-ready .NET 10. I'm just going to call out a couple here and look at the slides. You've got those runtime improvements that we talked about. There's going to be file-based apps. We'll see a demo of that a little later with publish support, native AOT, The container support in .NET is absolutely fantastic. We've got great new stuff happening in .NET MAUI and EF Core, security improvements all the way through, and then goodness in ASP.NET Core with passkeys. And there's so much more on this slide. I could go for another 10 or 15 minutes. But there's also C# 14. C# 14 introduces a ton of new features, enhancements, that'll help you write faster, more extensible, and more elegant code. These are a couple of my faves. Null conditional assignment, look at that. Customer with a question mark. Null conditional assignment, very convenient, less code, more expressive. You've got field-backed properties right there. And then extension members, those are my top 3 faves. We've also got other ones as well we're going to learn about over the next couple of days. Now here's a startup company that took a bet on C#. Tracebit. They're a B2B SaaS security product, and their CEO did a whole blog about why they chose C# for its productivity, for its stability, and more. I think it's cool. It's pretty great to see C# being used and loved by all businesses, including startups like Tracebit. Now, before we get to demos that show off C# 14 and .NET 10, I want to bring Maddie, product manager for Aspire, out. And they're also releasing a new version today.
Thank you, Scott. Amid everything we shipped this year, one .NET product has really taken on a life of its own. We first showed .NET Aspire here at .NET Conf 2 years ago as a way to turn on the things .NET has had for years. Logging, OpenTelemetry, resiliency, service discovery, all these building blocks that were already there, Aspire just brought them together to work seamlessly right out of the box. With Aspire, you define your distributed app in C#. So that's your web apps, your APIs, your databases, your queues, your front ends, all modeled with strongly typed code and full IntelliSense. Instead of juggling scripts and multiple startup projects and connection strings, you just run and debug the whole thing locally with a single F5, and then you can deploy to the cloud without changing a line. As Aspire gained momentum, teams started asking, can we plug in a JavaScript front end or a Python inference script? And the answer quickly became yes. So we did a bit of a rebrand. We're not .NET Aspire anymore. We're just Aspire. But it's still built with .NET, from the native AOT CLI to the Blazor dashboard that visualizes it all. And it's easy to extend with integrations, which are NuGet packages written in C# that light up diagnostics, config, and more for your app in any stack. The app host and CLI define and run your stack, integrations connect any service or language, and the dashboard gives you a live view of every log, endpoint, trace, and environment variable, all wired up automatically for .NET apps. Then you can deploy it all in one shot with Aspire itself or as part of your existing workflow. Alongside .NET 10, we shipped Aspire 13 today, which, you guessed it, is our biggest release yet. This version takes that same code-first experience and makes it feel right at home across stacks. So now you can model and run apps with JavaScript and Python just as easily as you can with .NET. So if you've been looking for a way to get your non-.NET friends to finally give .NET a chance, now is a pretty good time, especially with our CLI and makes setup even faster. And the new single file app host, which builds on .NET 10's file-based apps feature, means your entire Aspire project can live in one simple file, easy to share, build, and deploy. We've also kept iterating on and streamlined how Aspire helps with build and deployment pipelines, making it smoother than ever to go from local to cloud. And for polyglot teams, Aspire 13 adds flexible connection string management and cross-language certificate trust, so services can talk to each other securely no matter what language they're written in. The best part of Aspire is developers are already putting it to work. Trayport shared that most of what we need is available out of the box, and it's easily extendable to meet bespoke requirements, which I really think is the heart of Aspire. It's opinionated defaults that get you started fast with the flexibility to grow however you need. Built with .NET, open to everything else, Aspire 13 shipped today alongside .NET 10, and it's ready for you to try right now. But this is .NET Conf, not Aspire Conf, although stay tuned. So I'm going to bring in Damien and Safia to show you some of the latest .NET 10 features and how Aspire actually builds on top of them. Ready, Damien?
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody. So let's have a look at some code for the first time today. It wasn't that long ago that the first C# app that you wrote looked a little bit like this. This is a traditional console app that you might see in Visual Studio. We've been working over the last few years within .NET and C# to try and simplify the C# experience, especially for new users. Some of you may still have C# apps that look like this, and that's totally fine. There's obviously nothing wrong with this, but I think we can all appreciate that trying to simplify the experience, especially for new users or when you just have simple applications, is something we can all appreciate. So we've made a lot of progress on this over the last few years. We've managed to get rid of namespace declarations when they're not required. You don't even have to have your static void main on a class called program anymore using C# top-level statements. In .NET 10, we're introducing the next phase of this simplification called file-based apps. So I'm going to switch over to Visual Studio Code, my editor of choice for today. And you can see over here, there are no project files. In fact, all I'm working with to start with is an empty CS file. And so as a new user to C#, generally what you might do in your first type of application is go ahead and do hello world. So I can just start typing hello world, and Copilot's going to help me out there. I don't have a message yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and say hello world, and that's it. I've got my first application ready to go. If I want to run this application now, I can go to the command line and I can say .NET run hello.cs, and the application will compile and run. In fact, I can just say .NET hello.cs. I don't even have to use the run if I don't want to, which is great. As I get exposed to new language features, as I want to use them, I can just bring them into this application as I go. So now I could say, hey, let's declare a message. I'm going to go ahead and use the implicit args variable, and I'll just use that like so. And instead of saying C# over here, I'll just say world, and then we're going to come back in here and we'll use an interpolated string like it first wanted me to put that message in here. So now as I'm learning the language, we can start bringing those aspects of the code into this application. And then of course, if I go over and run that now and I say .NET Conf, we should be able to see I can say hello.NET Conf. Now I can do more in these types of applications as well. I can use the new #: directives at the top of the file here to bring in NuGet packages, or to set build properties like so. Or for complicated applications, I can even change the entire SDK that I'm using. Now, that's actually something that Aspire is doing with its new single file app host that Maddie mentioned. Here's an example of an Aspire app host project based on .NET 10 using file-based apps. And so you can see here the SDK is being set to use the Aspire app host SDK. It's bringing in 2 Aspire hosting integrations from NuGet packages, one for organizing JavaScript and one for organizing Python. And then I can very simply coordinate and set up my app here using C#. And I really like the idea of using C# to organize Python and JavaScript. If I go over to this C#14 file here, this is a slightly more complicated version of my first Hello World app that I created before. And I'm using some new C#14 features that we saw Scott mention in his talk just before. I've got this console.useColor method that you may not have seen before because it literally just exists in this file. And then I've also got this console.sayhello and this message.ANSI-colorize. So how did they come to be? Well, I'm using C#14's extension members feature, which is one of my favorite features, to do this. So I've got my console extensions class here. I'm using the new extension keyword to expand the console class with these new static methods. Now, we've been able to do static extension methods in C# for a while now, but this new syntax has a few more tricks up its sleeves. Not just static methods now. If I go down to my string ANSI extensions class here, you can see I'm actually creating instance methods as extensions on top of instances of a string. So I've got this ANSI colorize method here, which will actually randomly colorize the letters inside the string that you pass to it. And so now if I go back to the command line and I run my C#14 file here, you can see now I've got green, and then it's randomizing the colors of the C#14 string that's been passed in there. Now, another thing that we were very aware of when we built this feature is we want to make it very seamless to move from file-based apps to traditional projects when you get to the point of needing the types of features that those projects support. So I can do that very simply from the command line. I can say .NET project convert, and I'll convert my C#14 CS. It asks me what directory I want to put it in. I'll go with the default there. And now I can see I've got that C#14 directory. And if I go inside there, you can see now I have a regular project, and all my code has been migrated over there without any problem. So there you go.
That was great.
Thank you. Excellent. Excellent.
File-based apps, probably my favorite .NET 10 feature. There are a lot, but that was good. Crisp live demo.
Thank you very much.
And the best part about the CS Proj is you could open it up in VS 2026.
I absolutely could.
Which ships today.
Yep, absolutely.
Just FYI. When can I hear you talk more about file-based apps, Damien?
Yeah, so I'll be giving a talk on this tomorrow morning my time. So about 25 minutes, I'll get to go through a lot more features. So tune in.
I'm excited. Okay. All right. We're going to turn it over to Safia, who's going to show us how so all of these things and some of the other new .NET features come together in a slightly more real app, which is our Aspire Fridays Bingo app. So Safia has been fixing it up. It's the same one we use on our weekly streams on the Aspire channel, which is the Aspire Friday stream. We add Aspire to real apps. It's always a good time. But if you know the story of how the Bingo app came to be, it was a little bit vibe coded. So Safia and the team have been polishing it up. They've been adding the latest .NET 10 and ASP.NET Core and Blazor features. And it's a really good demo app because it's everything Aspire was built for. It's polyglot. It's got a JavaScript front end and a Blazor admin portal front end. It's got .NET. It's got SignalR. It's got multiple concurrent users. And it's fully deployed to the cloud with Aspire. So take it away, Safia. Let's see what you added.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, the Aspire Fridays Bingo app keeps things pretty interesting for people who are tuning in to the live stream on Fridays. Now, it's just a web app, so if people wanted to follow along with the stream on their phones, it's a little bit hard to do now, but I fixed that. I have Maui-fied the app, and I'm taking advantage of the upcoming Aspire integration for Maui to set up my Aspire app to support simulation via a local iOS simulator. You'll notice that I've got the iOS simulator running in my Aspire dashboard right now. And if we take a peek, there's our Aspire Fridays Bingo app running right in my iOS simulator via Maui. Pretty neat. Soon you can play the game while watching the stream on your device. Now, that's not the only improvement that we've made. To enhance this API, we've added a couple of supporting backend features. Let's take a look at the OpenAPI docs for the administrator board that we've created that lets us manage games live while they're occurring so that we can monitor how people are interacting with Bingo, who's winning, and who's got a streak going. So let's take a look at those OpenAPI docs. And right at the top, I'm going to notice one of the big new features in .NET 10, which is support for OpenAPI 3.1. Now, despite being a minor version bump, OpenAPI 3.1 is actually a major overhaul to the OpenAPI specification because it makes OpenAPI a true superset of JSON schema, which brings a ton of benefits around validation and tooling support, and it improves OpenAPI's interop across the stack. So starting in .NET 10, you'll get OpenAPI 3.1 support right out the box. There's something else going on here in my OpenAPI documentation, which is all of these fantastic descriptions that I've got on the side for my API endpoints. For example, the post endpoint for creating a new bingo square has text descriptions that describe what the API does and what features and inputs it requires. This is supported by the fact that now XML doc comments on endpoints are automatically integrated into APIs in OpenAPI. If I take a look at my application code, I'll see that I have a bunch of XML comments on my create square handler, and these automatically appear in my OpenAPI documentation. You don't have to worry about duplicating XML and attributes in your code. What shows up in your doc comments is automatically there in your live API. All right, that's pretty neat. APIs are great, but let's take a look at the admin UI, which is implemented in Blazor. On the home page, we'll see one of the new features, which is passkey authentication support, brought in by enhancements to Blazor components and ASP.NET Core's identity APIs, which lets me log in with passkey to our admin dashboard application, all with my finger. Super neat. Once we've landed on the admin portal, it loads up pretty quickly. We'll notice that we've got a connected clients UI. This UI lets me see the clients that are connected to my application, and it loads up pretty quickly. This is all supported by the new persistent state attribute in Blazor. This attribute allows me to indicate that state should be persisted across pre-rendering, so I'm not prefetching that list when my state comes live on the client. Pretty neat. I've been working on adding a new feature to the board management, which lets me add new squares. I'm going to go ahead and try this out and commit my idea for a new square to add. We'll call this new card for now. We'll notice something interesting has happened. Validation on the client side has kicked in via Blazor to let me know that the ID that I provided is not valid. What's going on here is actually pretty neat, and to show you why it's neat, I'm going to jump back to my API backend, and we'll try and send the same request via API to a minimal API backend. So I'll go put in new card, hit send, and we'll see we get the same error back. This is supported by the new generic model validation support in ASP.NET Core, which allows frameworks to tap into an extensible validation framework that allows you to validate nested complex types from anywhere. And here it's used in Blazor and minimal APIs. I'm liking what I have so far, so I think I'm ready to deploy it. I'm going to jump over to my application and hit Aspire Deploy. This is going to take our code from my local machine to an Azure Container Apps instance, where it'll be deployed and accessible for everyone to view. Here's that running instance right there. And thanks to all of .NET's great perf characteristics, I can run more workloads on fewer containers, allowing me to save costs without compromising on performance. All of these features make it super accessible to build fast, reliable applications that are cohesive from client to cloud with .NET 10.
Yay. Thank you, Safia. That was great.
Thank you.
We will talk a little bit more about the new deployment stuff for Aspire in the Aspire session later this morning, Pacific time, afternoon, evening, middle of the night, wherever you are in the world. But we're going to turn it back to Scott now to show you just how you can take advantage of all of these new things by modernizing your app to the latest .NET and C#.
All right, good stuff. My friends, have you ever opened an old .NET app expecting a quick upgrade, only to find yourself in a world of pain, chasing broken builds and cryptic errors? You are not alone. I've been there. This is a safe space. We can talk about it. What starts as a simple version bump often turns up into hours of untangling API. Because modernization isn't just about staying current. Additionally, older frameworks can introduce security risks, hurt your performance, it can make scaling and moving to the cloud harder. Upgrading gives you access to modern APIs, better runtime efficiency, better tooling, and it sets you up for success, sets you up for cloud-native features, automated scaling, monitoring, secure identity management. That's where GitHub Copilot app modernization comes in. Okay, this is built into Visual Studio. It's kind of your modernization copilot. Guides you through every step, deals with ambiguity, automates heavy lifting, and it helps you move from the, this could take weeks, to, yeah, we got this done in a couple of hours. Whether you're upgrading to .NET 10 or you're preparing for a cloud migration, the modernization copilot aims to make that process faster, smarter, and less stressful. And GitHub Copilot app modernization is released today. It's included in Visual Studio 2026. Now, don't just take it from me, right? There are many success stories that we've got with GitHub Copilot app modernization. For example, FMG, they upgraded many of their applications in just a matter of hours, which is pretty cool. Now, here's another thing. I'm guilty of this. We know that many of your older applications don't have any unit tests at all. It's okay, we've all been there. And that's why we're kind of training GitHub Copilot to make those tests for you. The GitHub Copilot testing agent for .NET is available in public preview in the Visual Studio 2026 Insiders channel. So if you want to have those two versions of 2026 installed side by side, do that. Try it out on your apps, give us feedback, and make that feature even better. And with that, we've got Kathy and Brady in the studio over here to walk us through how these tools work. Take it away.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Scott. I'm excited to be here today with my good friend Kathy, and we're going to talk about how you can take advantage of some of the new GitHub app modernization tooling, as well as some of the new GitHub test agent tooling.
Let's do it.
To not only like bring those apps forward, but get you on .NET 10 and get you into Azure. Now, as Scott said, this isn't a lickety-split type of process. So Kathy and I, we've done that terrible thing of recording our demos today because we don't really have a couple of hours to sit here with you. We'd love to. But what we're going to do is we're going to rush through a couple of videos of the experience of upgrading an app. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. So you'll see here on my screen that I've got an application called Contoso University. This is an old .NET framework application. Allows authenticated users, so you can tell we have auth, to kind of check on their course bulletins and their students and whatever else. So I've gone ahead and right-clicked this project. Again, it's a 4.8 project, and I'm eventually going to click this button, upgrade to a newer version of .NET. And then after we're done with that, I'm going to click this button later on, migrate it to Azure. We won't talk about this button too much today, but this will give you the opportunity to upgrade things like semantic kernel to agent framework, which you'll hear a lot about this week. So I'll go ahead and click on that upgrade me to a later version of .NET. And it's going to go ahead and pick .NET 8 because it was last week and that was the latest version, or the latest LTS version. But now I'm going to tell it I want to pick a different version of .NET. I obviously want the new one, 10. So it just gave me the option to pick 8, 9, and 10. I've selected 10, and that upgrade process is going to go ahead and start. Now, about 45 minutes, an hour later, you're going to see this upgrade plan, which is going to walk you through the entire process of all the different NuGet packages. Actually, this is about 10 minutes later. You'll see all the individual NuGet package updates that we're going to make from .NET Framework 4.8, 12 years ago, whatever, all the way through to .NET 10. It's going to show us a lot that we're going to need to upgrade, like Scott said, because of security implications, but also some things where we're just kind of bringing the SDK style of the projects forward and just modernizing things. Once we start running this, you're going to see the upgrade progress details window open. And this is really when you kind of hang out and let Copilot do its work. The first phase is going to be to validate that we've got the SDK installed. The second phase is going to be I don't have any global JSONs that are going to conflict with anything. And then the third phase, which again takes about a half hour, is that upgrade process. It depends on the size of your project or your solution, but once it's done, you'll see the project open up right here. This is the .NET 10 version of the project. I'm authenticating to it directly on localhost. You can see that I go through and pretty much everything is ready to go. At this point, I'm ready to modernize this.
Brady.
What?
We don't have any tests.
What do I mean? Oh, we
Seriously.
got to test first. Okay, we got to test before we pull it.
Yeah,
you're
Brady.
right. Okay.
Why don't we use that new GitHub Copilot testing thing that Scott
That's a
was
good
telling
plan.
us about?
It's a good plan.
Yeah, you want to try that?
Let's do it. Let's do
All right,
it.
okay. All right, so let's try it out, right? We got a modern app. Let's get some modern tests for this thing, all right? So we have the GitHub Copilot testing capability built right into Visual Studio 2026, right in Copilot. We can do @test right here in the Copilot window, and we can use a member, a file, a project, or a solution here. I'm going to run it across the entire Contoso University app here, since we don't have any tests right now. You could also pick the model that you want to use right below it. So let's go and kick this off here. Let's see how much code coverage we can add. So Copilot's going to start by analyzing my project here. It's going to create a new test project since we have no tests for this project right now. If we did have a project already here for our tests, it would support MS Test, XUnit, and NUnit. So it's going to build the test project and calculate the baseline coverage. And you'll see it gets to work right away here. It generates tests for my key services and models and controllers. And we can see the progress all while it's going on here in the Copilot window and in the output window. Now, as everyone's been saying, this could take a little bit of time here, especially if you're going to run it across a project or a solution here. So we've sped this up a little bit today, but this is exactly what you'd see on your end. Now, the tests are going to start to show up here in Test Explorer using automatic test discovery, so I don't have to do anything. I can sit here and watch them and see how things are going. Now, I could write a prompt to do this manually, but this capability is really purpose-built for testing. It understands my code structure and also my project setup and also what good tests should look like. So Copilot's going to create tests that are safe for my code, they're accurate, and also it uses an understanding of C# as well. So I'm going to end up with more tests that build and pass. Now, as you'll see here, sometimes not every test is going to pass right away. Our goal here isn't perfect coverage. It's really to give us a starting point to build off of. You'll see here when Copilot, the tests fail, that's okay. It's going to go and fix them and make sure that they can pass. And so that's exactly what's happened here. It's going to measure my final coverage now that all my tests have passed. Now, Copilot doesn't just generate tests. It's going to give us a really great summary of what happened all along the way. So in just a second, you're going to see some stats about the number of unit tests that were added. Maybe some projects and files were also modified here. And we'll get a great view of the before and after coverage, so we can actually see what our net lift was. We've also got some quality indicators, so we can see that pass-fail summary. And also, we got some insights into the testability gaps. Maybe there's some things that I need to fix, or maybe it even found some bugs for me. And I really love this. This gives me a really clear playbook of how I can continue to improve reliability here and keep moving forward while raising the coverage of my code. And lastly, we've got some direct links that will take you to some of the new files that were created here. So, Brady, we just went from zero coverage to some real coverage here. How are you feeling about this?
I feel a lot better about that. I mean, I've written a lot of tests. Dat wrote a lot more tests than I've written probably over the last year, so that's pretty good. I mean, at this point, I'm feeling like we can go ahead and move on to the modernization stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip back over to my monitor real quick.
Let's do it.
And what you'll see here is that I've got this window open. So I've got this migrate to Azure guy. I'm gonna go ahead and click that button, get my video kind of rolling up here again. Now, what this migrate to Azure phase is gonna do, is it's actually gonna open up, you'll see in a second, we're gonna run an assessment report. So that assessment report will basically scan my project, scan all the dependencies that I have, make some recommendations on next steps that I can do to actually take my application into Azure. You'll see down at the bottom I'll have a list. That first one's pretty daunting. This menu right here will give me the opportunity to select if I want app service, Kubernetes, MI or anything else. I can actually pick from that list, and this will tailor that experience. I'm really just going to containerize this, so it doesn't matter too much what I select, because I'm not going to get into the bicep yet. I'm going to deploy this to app service on Linux, so I probably should have selected that. But right up here, you'll see that I've gone ahead and clicked the migrate from Windows AD to Entra ID button. Not that auth isn't fun to do, but after about 15-20 minutes, it's actually converted all of that code over to use Entra ID. It's gone ahead and configured it, and fortunately it put my Azure AD settings directly into my app config. I'll need to move those out to secrets. But when I run this, it's going to go ahead and prompt me and ask me to log in. My logins are already working. I've got that Entra ID app registration up in the cloud, and it goes ahead and asks me directly to localhost. Now I'm going to run that assessment report again to kind of see, did it catch that Entra ID? It did. Now the second phase is going to be, to migrate kind of my libraries and my connection strings that kind of depend on SQL on premise to go to Azure SQL. And that's not a lot of changes. It basically changed a couple of config. We'd already changed a lot of the libraries during that .NET upgrade process. So that one kind of took a lot less time. At this point, I want to go ahead and create my own development environment. So I'll use my typical right-click deploy, not to production. I'm only right-clicking to my independent dev environment. And before I go further, for those of you that don't like the idea of right-click deploying, we've given you the ability to use GitHub Actions and Azure DevOps with the introduction of Visual 2026. You've got the capability that you can generate those CI/CD scripts and commit those directly to your repo, so you don't have to do right-click publish. You can automate your existence and use all those great CI/CD capabilities directly from within VS. The Azure DevOps stuff is brand new. So I'll click finish here, and I'll go ahead and create our publish profile. And once that's created, I'll see this publish button up at the top. I'm going to click that and go ahead and rush that just a little bit, wait for the publish process to complete. It takes about 2-3 minutes. It's going to publish all those bits directly out to Azure App Service Linux. I'm going to copy the URL of the site to my clipboard before I click it, and then there's the site. This is actually the site running up in Azure App Service Linux. If I were to click on this student list, of course it's going to ask me to authenticate. So I'm going to go over to my Entra ID tenant, because everybody loves to do that. I'll click here, I'll add this URL here, I will put in that sign in OIDC suffix, and once I do my login here again, the student list should authenticate me. I'll go ahead and auth, and we're done. So you can see that I didn't have to really dive into the code. Essentially, I just used the GitHub app modernization capabilities for not only upgrading my application from .NET Framework directly to .NET 10. Then Kathy showed us how you could actually generate. How many tests did you actually generate? A couple hundred?
There were hundreds.
Hundreds of tests? Wow. And that process, when you've run it before, a couple of hours to really generate a bunch?
It's 1-2 hours.
1-2 hours? Okay, cool. So thinking, 3 or 4 hours of time, you've converted, you've rewritten your test, you've rewritten your migration strategy, you've set up your auth, you didn't even touch anything. So that kind of gets you, as Kathy said, a really, really nice foothold to kind of really dive in and take advantage of some of the awesome new features. But I'm going to hand it back over to our other friends, Scott, Maria, and Allie now to talk about coming up in .NET 10 and VS. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brady and Kathy. I am joined by Allie and Maria, and we're going to show you some of the tools and the frameworks that you can use to take advantage of AI when you're building your .NET apps. Now, the .NET team builds the platform. They integrate the tools that you need to build your intelligent apps intelligently. And whether that's providing essential building blocks as part of the .NET platform, providing C# SDKs and extensions for AI experiences, or connecting .NET developers to the entire ecosystem of LLMs to build agentic apps with .NET. And as you just saw, .NET also integrates into that agentic DevOps lifecycle of tools that provide these AI-powered agents to help you write and test and modernize and upgrade your code. as well as deploying the apps and keeping them running smoothly. Aspire will streamline the development and testing and deployment of these systems. Now let's take a look at some of the bold partnerships and the powerful AI that are built on .NET and Aspire that are inspiring the next generation of innovators in both industry and academia. This is what happens when vision meets technology. Let's go ahead and roll that video.
Microsoft and Shoreless really empowers .NET developers to become AI architects.
Texas A&M University, in partnership with Microsoft and Shoreless AI, is not just preparing our students for the future, we're defining what the future is going to look like together.
Most of the time when we go in and first meet with a client, they're really struggling with how to get started. They just don't know where to go with AI. We help them move from being AI followers to AI leaders. Shoreless actually models an organization. So it's like being able to create an entire virtual organization that sits next to your existing organization. And you have the ability to interact with those agent workers in the same way that you would interact with any of your coworkers. Everything that we have here at Shoreless is built in .NET. And with Copilot, a lot of the tools are built right into Visual Studio and our development environment for us to be able to deploy faster and to be able to code faster as well. So instead of taking months to do it, we take a matter of days, and we're able to really help them dig deeper and deeper into it so that they can find more ways to make revenue or reduce costs.
At Mays Business School, our vision is building a better future through business. And we wanted to create a competition that would bring some of the brightest minds, young minds, undergraduate students who are founders of businesses to our campus.
The pitch competition was the first of its kind from a national perspective across universities. We had over 100 different applicants from across the nation, across 37 different universities apply.
It's all about getting students to dream about the future of our country and the world, to use AI to build great businesses, and to think about how AI can transform society through business, and come up here and present their ideas. And hopefully their best ideas get funded, and we all move forward as a society because of our students.
It was essential that we use an enterprise-level AI tool like Shoreless AI, just to cut down on the sheer hours it would take to evaluate all of the submissions and to maintain the integrity of the evaluation process.
The fact that they were built.
Sì. Vabbè, senza nulla togliere ai testimonial, direi che commentiamo noi finché non tornano.
Sì. Direi che è evidente la parte di Aspire quanto ci stanno investendo, perché già due parti della keynote sono incentrate su quello. Quindi, cioè 2 prove fanno un'evidenza, no? Quindi
sì.
È molto interessante.
E aggiungo che sia per Aspire, ma probabilmente anche per l'Agentic Framework. Vediamo cosa dicono.
Ok.
Like it's a magic buzzword. If you want to sound smart in a meeting, just say agentic a few times and watch what happens. But I think it's important for us to talk as software developers about why that matters, how we can solve problems with it, because business is full of ambiguity. For example, you might tell someone, maybe a programmer, go to the store, get some bread, and if they have eggs, get 12. Sounds like easy instructions, right? But then they come back with 12 loads of bread and no eggs, and, well, whose fault is it? The instructions were ambiguous. That's where agents and large language models can come in. Unlike a batch file or a PowerShell script that might get stuck if there was a roadblock, agents can have just the right amount of common sense to deal with that ambiguity. They're like that one colleague that can follow instructions, but also figure out how to navigate around a detour and still get the job done with the help of tools, actions, and memory. So as we show you some demos coming up shortly, I want you to think about what agents are, why they exist, and they are those flexible partners. They intend to deal with the kind of real-world messiness, the ambiguity of business. They don't just run on a schedule, they adapt, and they try to bring a kind of human-like reasoning into the equation. And that's the power that we want to show you today. Okay? Now, last year, We talked about semantic kernel. We talked about AutoGen. These are two frameworks that simplified making agents. Those two have come together, and they are now Microsoft Agent Framework. Still built on the same building block, that same Microsoft extensions for AI. This simplifies agent development, but it also provides this foundational building block that will give you the flexibility and the power to, to build safe, responsible, interactive, and robust AI apps. Okay? Now, Microsoft Agent Framework is in public preview, but it releases .NET and Python packages weekly on GitHub and NuGet. And the latest release includes support for AGUI protocol, as well as interactive developer UIs for you to visualize, debug, and test agents and workflows. Now, in addition to Agent Framework, one of the key technologies that we're investing in is Model Context Protocol, or MCP. And the goal of MCP is to be kind of a standard mechanism. It's the USB for AI. So AI models can use tools, use resources, and then extend their knowledge and capabilities beyond what the LLM understands in its initial training. So we've built MCP support into the development tools. So Visual Studio Code, we've got developed MCP servers that plug into them, like Azure and Playwright and GitHub, which is super cool. Okay? So back to our diagram of an agent. You can build your own MCP servers, whatever you like, so that your agents can get that additional context that's specific to your business, to your problems, to your specialized tools. And it'll make your agents even more capable. So you are in control. Now, there are official MCP SDKs available for all the popular languages, including God's favorite, C#. Okay? So beginning in March of this year, we started collaborating with Anthropic to create and maintain an official C# SDK for MCP. And many of the Microsoft products that now support MCP are using that SDK, including Windows itself, including Visual Studio, including Copilot Studio. So Ali and Maria and I are going to kind of explore intelligence with .NET 10, and I'll go first. So on my machine right here, I use GitHub Copilot. Now, I tend to use it in the CLI because I like Windows Terminal. You can see I've got PowerShell and Ubuntu. So I'm using the GitHub Copilot CLI, the command line interface, and I told it to draw me an ASCII diagram to get a sense of understanding my podcast website. So GitHub Copilot drew me this really cool ASCII diagram of my code base. This is my ASP.NET code base that I will soon modernize with our modernization tools. And this is an understanding moment. This is a moment for me to really use that local Copilot CLI. And look at this, it's telling me my automation scripts, my layout, the structure of my application, the testing layers. This is super useful, but this is at the command line, even though it has cool ANSI art. I can kind of upgrade into Visual Studio Code, and I can do things like put it into agent mode, where it can start talking to tools. I can put it into the new planning mode. And in this case here, I asked it to go and look at all my tests, categorize my tests, make sure that I'm testing everything correctly, and whether or not I had good coverage. This is all inside of Visual Studio Code. Now, if I go even further into a full IDE, Visual Studio 2026, in here, I've got profiling and testing tools. Although, I have to say, Ali, I went in here and I said, do I have any open issues or PRs, thinking that it would go talk to GitHub. And then it says, I don't have access to tools to talk to GitHub issues or pull requests directly.
I think I can help you out with that one, Scott.
Okay, cool.
So one of the biggest challenges with AI agents today is that they're often limited to static data. So they know about what's going on in your current file or in your project, but they might not know about the information that exists outside of that environment. So like we saw with your demo a couple of seconds ago, GitHub Copilot didn't have a way to reach out to GitHub and get that live data. So that's where MCP comes in. MCP acts as a secure bridge between the agent and external systems. It gives Copilot a standardized way to call and access data from real-world tools like GitHub, Azure, wherever your data might live. We have that custom plumbing or or you don't have to build any custom plumbing or one-off integrations to connect to those tools. You can do it all through MCP. So we have a really exciting and awesome experience directly in Visual Studio that allows you to discover some of those existing MCP servers from a registry. So if I go right up here and I click extensions, and then I go over to MCP registries, I'm brought to this view. Just like installing a NuGet package, I'm able to scroll through a list of some pre-built MCP servers. So we've got Azure DevOps, we have got Chrome DevTools, we've got Figma, GitHub, all of these different servers that I can easily connect to and then bring all of that data from that source directly into my application in GitHub Copilot. So if I go over to this installed tab here, I can see which servers I've already installed. So it looks like I've got the GitHub server already configured. So that's awesome to see. So I'm going to go right over to GitHub Copilot Chat and select the tool picker window. And I can see some of the servers that I've got built. And I'm going to go ahead and also introduce an awesome new feature that we have to enable authentication for some of these servers, because another thing that's really important about MCP servers is that they require a secure connection and authentication, and we have an experience to do that directly in Visual Studio. So if I click authentication, I can see that I have an inbuilt way to provide my GitHub credentials directly in Copilot Chat. So I'm just going to click authenticate really quick, and now I'm authenticated to use the server. So I'm going to close out, and I'm going to enable that in chat. So now I'm going to try asking a similar question to what Scott had before about pulling any GitHub issues that I have on this repo. So I'm going to ask that same question. Open issues on this repo. Send. And now, because I'm connected to the GitHub MCP server, I have a bridge to be able to access that live open issue data from GitHub. So you can see here that we've got a tool call running to get the summary of open issues. We ran that tool call. And now I have a summary directly from GitHub that pulls that live data and gives me a summary of any open issues that I have on this sample repository here. So yeah, Copilot was able to just summarize the open issues directly from GitHub. It lists the titles, gives me a quick summary, and even links back to some of those existing issues. So that's the difference that MCP makes. We've gone from a disconnected model to a connected, context-aware assistant that can work with our live trusted data. And this isn't just about GitHub. Any pattern applies to any system that you have. So your CI/CD pipeline, your customer feedback data, analytics, whatever you want your AI to understand, GitHub Copilot with MCP can do that. And the best part is that you can build your own MCP servers. So you have a way to connect to really anywhere that your data lives. So we have a project template for creating custom MCP servers. And you can use that by just installing the necessary NuGet packages, and then you can create your MCP servers. And anyone can share them through a NuGet package. And yeah, you'll be able to connect to wherever your data lives.
That's cool. And that's a pretty quick start if you want to experiment. Like if I've got any system or any API, I could go and make my own.
Yeah.
I want to make my own.
Yes, you can. Like, you should have one for the Hasselman podcast, don't you think?
Oh, I think my podcast definitely needs to be agentified.
100%. It's about time. So, thank you so much, Ali. So, I wanted to talk about what it's like to build an agent today for .NET developers. They have everything they need. So, I'm going to show you so much today. And since I'm a horrific typer, I recorded my demos.
Nothing wrong with that.
So, nothing wrong with that. So, I am just going to go ahead and hit play. So, first thing I did was something I baked earlier, is the first thing you'll notice that I have installed the agent framework NuGet package. This is what you talked about earlier. The agent framework makes it really easy for you to start building agents out of the box. You notice similar things like I added a GitHub model, I gave my writer an instruction, and that's my way of building up an agent. Now, when we run this application, you're going to see a story popped up, right? But I feel like you didn't respond enough to that, so I'm going to stream the responses back to make it more fluid. And when you see the fluidity coming back, it feels like you're actually chatting with your console as you see the information stream through. So they're going to give it a moment. It's going to stream in through.
Nice.
And it's pretty smooth. But now, when you're building an agent, it is more than just using one agent to do everything. Usually hand it off into different tasks. So we're going to build an editor agent using the agent framework, which makes it super well for you to orchestrate patterns across your application sequentially. So it's handing it off naturally to the next agent to complete the task. So our editor agent is going to do like the formal improvement of writing, so our book is actually readable. So when we run this, you will notice that you will see 2 agents. So we're just going to give that a quick run, and you're going to notice 2 agents pop up in a second, right? The first one is a writer assistant agent that's generating the content now, and the next one is the editor agent. So there we have the writer, and there we have the editor, right? So these are 2 agents working together to complete a task.
Okay.
And this is all made incredibly simply through the agent framework today. That's pretty cool, right?
It is cool.
So we talked about tools. Tools make your agent better. So we're going to give our editor tool the ability to actually format the information coming back. So when you create the formatter tool, when you run the application, you should see not just the story, but it's also given it a title, which we expect our editors to help us with. So that is what we get from the agent framework. Now, you and I really like building things in the console, right? It's a way to show people that you're building things up bit by bit. But what we really want to do is give people things right out of the box.
That's true.
So what I want to show you today is that we have the agent API template. This makes it incredibly easy for you to build just what I did, but for an ASP.NET Core application. So if we play this video, what you'll notice is that it creates the application. It will look very familiar. And when we go to our program.cs, what you will notice is that you have the writer, the editor, and the workflow. And I'll go through what a workflow looks like in a little bit more detail. We're also going to do something where we are using the OpenAI responses as well as the conversational API, and my favorite feature, which is Map Dev UI. It's a Dev UI which is built with an agent framework that makes it easier for you to test and debug your applications visually, which I think is a really great learning experience. So when we click on Publisher, I can now have a conversation with my chatbot in kind of like a Dev UI mode, right? So what you will notice is that you'll see the responses coming back, events, traces, and tools. This is great for you, not just as developing as a developer, but also just learning and how all of these things connect together. When I click on that, it actually shows me all the results that are coming back as well. And this is built right out of the box with Agent Framework. All you have to do is configure your DI to use it. You can also visualize the flow of the agent. Remember when I talked about that thing of like you have a writer, you have an editor? You can also update the input without even going back to your original code. And this gives you this naturally robust, lovely experience.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty
that
cool.
That whole UI I get for free.
You get for free. Nice. And you get to contribute to it as well. Now, there's one last thing I wanted to show you. You mentioned AGUI, and this is coming fresh off the boat. Okay, off the presses. So AGUI is a lightweight protocol that allows you to stream chat responses between the client and the backend. So what does that mean? So it is the season, and you like steak tacos.
I do.
You love steak tacos. This demo I am doing live.
I will code for tacos. It's well known.
I know it. Right? So when you run this, what you will notice is that as the response is being sent to the LLM, you're seeing it bounce back in real time in the UI. And this is all using AGUI.
See, this is moving beyond chatbots.
It's moving beyond chatbots, which we really like. Now, for all the .NET developers at home, you must be asking yourself, what about me? How do I use this? You can. Using Blazor today, you can actually embed these chat clients, these AGUI protocols into your Blazor application. So when you notice in this, and I'm just going to speed through a little bit over here to save us time, you'll notice I have my Blazor app, I have my web API, and I have my app host, because I have a tiny little surprise at the end.
Okay.
Tiny little surprise. So what you'll notice is that in my web API, you'll see the AGUI package. You'll see it configured over here. Let's just go to that real quick. Then we'll go over to the Blazor application as well, where you'll see the same happening in a Blazor component. Right? So in our Blazor component right over here, you'll also see the package.
And AGUI is a standard.
It is a new standard built on top of MCP.
Love it.
Everything is united in this platform. We love it. when we run this application, we launch our Blazor app. This Blazor app is not fancy at all. It comes right out of our chat templates. This is all using AGUI, and you added about 3 lines of code to your entire application to get that working.
Take it.
Which is pretty cool. Now, everywhere we are sprinkling a little bit of AI, and this is a feature I really wanted in Aspire. So anywhere you see the sparkle in Aspire, you know that is an AI application, and you're able to see the responses back. So whether you're using DevUI or you're using Aspire, we kind of got you.
Very cool.
And that's what I have to show you today.
All right, that's really neat. I like that. It makes me think about F12 tools and the kind of tools we got when we did REST APIs, and now you plug in the chatbot, you have your REST APIs and your debuggable tracing, and now you do the same thing with chatbots and seeing them talking to each other.
Kind of like Spider UI.
Very cool.
Exactly.
All right, that is a fantastic demo from Maria and Ali. Thank you for your work, both of you. We appreciate you. We are now going to dig deeper into Visual Studio 2026 and some of the features that you're going to get with the release today. So thank you so much. I'm going to go get a taco because I was told there were tacos.
And we just made one.
Fantastic. All right. We'll see you soon.
Thoughts?
Allora,
Eccoci qua.
eccoci qua. E allora, Aspire ed AI.
Sì.
Cioè, questo è nel senso
È
che
evidente.
è evidente e personalmente apprezzo l'idea di cominciare a realizzare qualcosa che vada al di là dell'usabilità col solo .NET Framework, no? Quindi come per esempio per Aspire.
Sì.
Concordo.
Tra l'altro non l'hanno fatto, non so se non l'hanno fatto vedere, ma con Aspire 13 c'è anche cross debug, quindi
ho visto...
se usi l'estensione di la VS Extension di Aspire su Visual Studio Code, fai partire con l'estensione di progetto di Aspire, hai debug sia su Python che su .NET.
L'hanno fatto vedere forse una puntata di Aspire Friday, se non ricordo male.
Sì. No, era la release party di Halloween.
Sì, quella di Halloween.
Party di Halloween.
Che è stata... Infatti quando l'ho visto ho detto, cavoli? Cioè non avevo detto cavoli, ho detto un'altra parola, però siccome siamo in diretta su YouTube non lo posso dire.
Sì. C'è stata una grande spinta, abbiamo preso dentro gente in Microsoft che conosce bene Python e abbiamo detto ok, il supporto attuale di Python in Aspire fa schifo, cioè esiste ma è fermo a se stesso, cerchiamo di rendere questa cosa veramente polyglot e secondo me è molto molto bello.
Sì.
Perché c'è proprio, se usate l'Aspire CLI, Aspire New, c'è il nuovo template Python più React Vite, che è quello che ha fatto vedere Safia. Safia o Damian. No, Damian ce l'aveva nella post CS. È il nuovo template dedicato appunto alla parte polyglot, quindi anche il single file a post, eccetera. Chiaramente nel template.net, però l'abbiamo lasciato il full ProJ perché...
Mm-hmm. È anche ciò a cui siamo più abituati come esperienza, quindi
concordo, sì, anche io sono più per il .NET di lasciare il CS Project, onestamente.
Almeno.
Discorso di abitudine, non per altro. No.
Vorrei sbagliarmi, ma penso l'abbiamo lasciato.
Beh, vogliamo dirlo che tu hai scritto parte del codice dell'app demo Bingo Bongo Bingo Bango che hanno fatto vedere prima, diciamo.
L'Aspire Bingo è stato un progetto collaborato mio e di Maddie, dove Maddie era partita facendo la parte client in React e Vite e poi era semplicemente, quindi ognuno giocava per i fatti suoi e non c'era nessuna parte di admin eccetera. Una sera avevo scritto Maddie, ma fa schifo, dovremmo avere un sito di admin per capire chi ha fatto bingo, aggiungere elementi alla board. E mi fa, sì, fallo. E una sera sono andato a casa, era tipo l'1:30 dopo il concerto dei Deftones, mi aveva svegliato il concerto, mi sono fatto una doccia, mi sono svegliato ancora di più, mi sono messo a fare vibe coding fino alle 3 del mattino, sotto lo sguardo perplesso della mia ragazza, e l'ho scritta, e poi dopo da lì è esplosa, perché ci abbiamo fatto una serie di puntate di Aspire Fridays sopra, in realtà, per gestire il deployment, da cui abbiamo imparato un botto di roba per quanto fosse complicato deployare singole static web app con Aspire, eccetera, eccetera. E poi ho scritto l'altro giorno Maddie e fa: guarda che la usiamo per la keynote. Ok. Infatti ho chiesto scusa che ha dovuto pulire il codice, ho detto guarda che è stato scritto in un momento particolare. Chiedo un parere a tutti. Syntactic Sugar che viene introdotto.
Allora, no, questa è una bella domanda di Alberto. Parto, faccio full disclosure e parto io, e poi sono curioso anche di quello che pensate voi. Allora, ogni tanto ho la sensazione, la dico in inglese, che diventa più morbida, a tad bit too much, ok? Cioè quella keyword extension lì che abbiamo visto per l'extension method, se devo pensare, permesso che devo ancora provare ad usarla in the wild, un'applicazione vera, ma se devo pensare che serve semplicemente a non mettere il this davanti al primo argomento di un metodo, boff, ok? Cioè devo capire, usandola, come funziona il fatto che tu possa mettere il parametro, perché ho visto che una volta hanno messo un tipo come parametro, console, e un'altra volta invece hanno messo un'istanza, perché c'era il tipo string e un nome di istanza, string input. Quindi la sensazione ce l'ho anche io, però in termini di design ci fanno sopra tante discussioni, e probabilmente quando le fanno tengono anche in considerazione che prima o poi magari devono passare dal comitato ISO per aggiornare le specifiche ISO. Ricordo che C# è un linguaggio standard ISO, no? Anche se Microsoft va avanti, ok, e poi eventualmente ISO fa catch up. Quindi la sensazione ce l'ho anch'io, però non vorrei risultare presuntuoso nel dire sono convinto che sia così. Prima voglio provarla un po' e vedere se mi rimangio le mie parole. Però ditemi anche voi, Albe, Tom.
Io allora un po' anch'io, nel senso che tante cose non riesco a farmene piacere a livello sintattico, ma forse perché sono abituato a scrivere codice in un determinato modo, e quindi può anche essere quello il problema. Ad esempio, full disclosure, i primary constructor io a me non piacciono, cioè non li riesco a usare finché non mi permetteranno di mettere la private read only. Io quella roba lì faccio estremamente fatica a usarla, ma proprio per un mio modo di vedere le cose, è proprio il mio bias. Sulla parte di extension, per fare il paragone di Andrea,
ma io ho fatto giusto il primo esempio che mi è venuto in mente, cioè ho soltanto detto che ogni tanto ho quella sensazione, ho tirato fuori quello, ma non volevo prendermela con...
Ogni tanto sì, ad esempio a me il field piace tantissimo, per quanto possa essere la parte di backing field automatica, secondo me è una gran figata. E da quel punto di vista, ad esempio, l'extension method a me invece piace come cosa, perché al netto che ti permette di mettere metodi sul tipo oltre che sull'istanza, che con l'extension method, ad esempio, che io ricordi non si può fare, deve essere per forza su un'istanza del tipo, certo. E in più anche le proprietà, cosa che al momento non hai. Quindi secondo me quella parte di extension è molto molto bella, e anche sintatticamente non mi dispiace, perché raggruppa, ti obbliga un po' a raggruppare per forza di cose il tutto, secondo me. Però sì, posso essere d'accordo con Alberto che su determinate cose, cioè non con me stesso, con Alberto che aveva fatto la domanda, e effettivamente ogni tanto si lasciano prendere la mano, però anche lì, come Andrea, secondo me va provata e poi...
Che è una citazione da non ci resta che piangere.
Assolutamente.
Secondo me dietro c'è... scusa Andrea, fai con la citazione.
Vai.
Ma dietro c'è anche un tentativo del product group di chi sta dietro a .NET di rendere .NET più appetibile verso developer che vengono da altri mondi. Nel senso che certi costrutti che tu puoi scrivere in .NET, no? La parolina this per fare un'estensione, per me che scrivo .NET da 10 anni, per Andrea che scrive .NET da non si dice perché è scortesia dire da quanto scrive, è una cosa a cui siamo molto abituati. Però se io devo far vedere codice del genere a il buddy che scriveva Python fino all'altro giorno o JavaScript fino all'altro giorno, magari si perde. Quindi secondo me questa syntactic sugar, che può sembrare fine a se stesso, ha una sua ricerca di rendere il linguaggio più appetibile verso le certe potenziali nuove leve o gente che viene da altri linguaggi. Così come il single file project che faceva vedere Damian, anche quello, perché se tu vai a vedere fai vedere a un pythonista che scrive main.py, fai vedere il hello world di .NET che c'ha e il program.cs e il cs.proj e poi c'ha l'app settings.json, e lui dice ma perché c'è tutta sta roba? Io devo scrivere hello world in Python, è una riga di codice e basta. Più chiaramente anche avere una parte funzionale, perché avere i single file ci puoi mettere lo shebang per bash e renderlo un file eseguibile bash come tutti gli altri, quindi puoi avere .// pippo.cs in Linux e ti parte. Però secondo me il motivo principale è quello.
Allora, invoco appunto uno dei miei superpoteri, cioè ricordo a chi ci ascolta che ho 2 superpoteri, l'antipatia e la vecchiaia. E l'ho posto nella chat, ma questo è il primo articolo pubblicato su oggi.net il 6 marzo del 2002 ed è un'intervista a Eric Gunnarsson, che fu il primo PM del compilatore C#, quindi uno di quelli che ha fatto parte del team originale con, per esempio, Anders Iceberg. E mi sono ricordato, per la domanda di Alberto, che gli facemmo proprio una domanda sulla keyword using, perché abillo tempore era l'unica keyword che aveva keyword overloading, cioè veniva usata sia per i namespace using system.text, sia per il dispose pattern, no? E se leggerete questo articolo vedrete che nella limitazione delle keyword, nel tenere il linguaggio semplice, c'era un vero e proprio obiettivo, cioè era una delle stelle polari di allora. E se penso adesso alla sensazione che ha Alberto, tutte queste keyword, questo ingrandimento, comprendo che per chi c'era allora questo appaia nel tempo come un vero e proprio stravolgimento di un'idea iniziale che era fare un C++ ammorbidito, a meno che non scrivevi la magica keyword unsafe e ti rimettevi a mettere gli asterischetti, no? E a usare i puntatori sostanzialmente per fare pinvoke e quant'altro. Però i tempi cambiano ed è vero che se vuoi andare verso altre community hai bisogno di portare dentro concetti che altri linguaggi, altri ecosistemi hanno adottato, e lì la bravura sta nel riuscire a farlo senza rendere bloated il linguaggio.
Sì, io faccio, cioè ci sono degli scenari in cui delle persone ancora dicono questa roba gira in .NET e l'abbiamo scritta in .NET, quindi ci serve una macchina Windows per farla girare. E nota news, cioè, non è più una novità questa, però secondo me c'è uno sforzo, sì, in quella direzione di scalzare e di riprendere un certo tipo di use base che si è andata un po' a perdere.
Eccolo qua, vedete? Sono andato io a recuperare questo. Ripeto, dovete andare veramente alla prima pagina. Ed eccolo qua, intervista 6 marzo 2002. Sì, questa associazione verso Windows. Fortunatamente, per esempio, abbiamo visto prima citate da Scott, Red Hat, Canonical.
Canonical.
Sì.
Tra l'altro da quest'anno Red Hat ci ha sponsorizzato prima gli Conf, adesso li avremo a Cloud Day avremo anche SUSE come sponsor. Non posso fare nomi, ma abbiamo parlato anche con altre aziende che realizzano distro famose, ok? E quindi si spera che anche a livello di vulgata e di non so, luoghi comuni, bias, cose del genere, le cose migliorino, anche perché cioè, farsi la guerra per queste robe qua, cioè facciamocela per la musica che ascoltiamo, no? Dove è tanto evidente che vinco io, quindi cioè...
Ma io non abbiamo detto niente,
c'è un dibattito su questo topic, no?
Non per niente io e Tom non abbiamo detto niente.
Bravi.
Non mi pare ci sia un dibattito aperto su questa cosa.
Sì. Cioè, caro Tommaso, chiediti come mai il cantante dei Deftones ha tatuato sul braccio la rosa di Violator come album dei Depeche Mode. Chieditelo. Ma non credere a me, vai su Google e scrivi Deftones Depeche Mode Tattoo.
Ma è giusto, perché si passa di generazione in generazione. David Pine ha tatuate le 3 croci dei Crosses, che sono l'altro gruppo del Candicino Moreno, il cantante dei Deftones, e qualcuno, tipo Bartolesi probabilmente, si tatuerà la faccia di David Pine sul braccio un giorno per rendere omaggio a lui. È una catena di omaggi che si scioglie nel tempo. Il
grande Bartoletti. No, quindi... Interessante. Ovviamente appena finiremo questa live parte l'uninstall brutale di Visual Studio 2022 e l'install brutale di 2026.
Io l'install del 26 sì, ma l'install del 22 fammi provare prima il 26. A parte che l'insider, sto provando l'insider da un po' sul mio PC personale, non mi sto trovando male. Cioè, per il momento, a parte alcuni momenti in cui Treasure Component andavano un po' in pappa con la parte di IntelliSense, di colorazione, però nel complesso non mi sto trovando poi così male col 2026, anzi.
Sì, ecco, faccio un piccolo commentino. Avrei preferito che quando, proprio all'inizio, Scott ha fatto vedere che so, la riduzione del memory footprint e cose del genere, non l'avesse fatto esclusivamente per le minimal API, perché il mondo non è fatto esclusivamente di single page application, che chiamano un backend REST, ma cioè dimmi sulla mia applicazione ASP.NET Core MVC / Razor Pages o anche Blazor Server, dimmi se è successo qualcosa, perché è pieno di applicazioni là fuori, di web app che su Azure, ma voglio dire anche su AWS, che ha supporto a .NET come First Citizen, è pieno di applicazioni che magari potrebbero giovarne. Quindi dammi una hint anche su questo fronte. Poi capisco che Minimal API sia dove è evidente che front-end, chiamiamolo così, UI Toolkit è Blazor e back-end è Minimal API. A posto, vero?
A posto.
Però c'è tanta di a post, a get, ok? Però è pieno di roba che non è ancora tutta così, e magari un'idea ma lo dico perché potrebbe essere il motivo per il quale qualche azienda decide di migrare a .NET 10, cioè dimostrami che consoliderò di più, che posso scendere di tier, di taglio dell'app service plan, perché ho bisogno di meno CPU o meno memoria anche sulle applicazioni vecchie, ok? E magari ti porti a casa qualche progetto in più che migra. Per questo questa cosa avrei preferito.
Sì, ci sta, effettivamente. Sì, diciamo che lo spazio nelle slide quello era, quindi probabilmente hanno buttato su quella, però
bastava
effettivamente
mettere
una mention.
Sì, esatto,
due slide invece che una.
Sì, assolutamente sì.
Poi sicuramente qualcosa ci sarà, perché comunque il miglioramento in termini della memoria lo dava una gestione diversa del garbage, diceva Anselman, quindi essendo una base comune quella che hanno anche ASP.NET, MVC, eccetera, sicuramente ci sarà un impatto. Sarebbe stato sicuramente carino vedere il numerino di fianco all'impatto.
Sì, quello è vero.
Sì, ma sai, se lo dici in quel momento dove hai il tanto focus su di te, secondo me qualche indeciso lo sposti, come se sono gli swing states negli Stati Uniti, no? Quelli indecisi, probabilmente ci sono anche gli swing projects.
Sì. Beh, già il fatto che comunque con l'STS l'hanno portata a 2 anni in supporto, secondo me quello, ragazzi, è tantissima roba. Quello è veramente tanta roba.
Perché non rimani, per fortuna, adesso non rimani più unsupported.
Esatto. No, ma poi cerchi di spingere la gente a migrare in modo più uniforme, no? E non solo tra LTS e LTS, che comunque...
Sì, esatto, ma li porti... Comunque sì, già tra .NET 8 e .NET 9 c'erano delle differenze. Il fatto di alcuni magari non l'hanno fatto il passaggio a .NET 9 perché poi avevano il paura di rimanere appesi, e invece così almeno la gente riesce a seguire anno per anno. Poi c'è sul tema versioning, non so se qualcuno ha notato qual è la nuova versione di Aspire.
Io ho una domanda, infatti ce l'avrei su come mai tipo da 9 a 13 così, vedo, oddio, che è successo?
Da 9.5 a 13, la citazione credo sia di Damian, versions are just convention, una roba del genere ha detto, poi ha fatto mic drop e ha detto ci siamo tutti facciamo quello che ci pare. No, il punto era che volevano separarsi da .NET.
Ah, ok.
Di nuovo, solita cosa, perché perché la gente continuava a dire sto usando .NET 8 e quindi devo usare Aspire 8, ha voglia avere Tommaso alla conferenza, Aaron Powell alla conferenza, Tizio Caio alla conferenza, viene anche David Fowler a casa tua a dirti no, ma puoi usare Aspire 9 e tu comunque non aggiorni. Siccome Aspire è alla fine un insieme di tool e funzionalità che se non aggiorni ti perdi, e se aggiorni una volta ogni 2 anni ti cambia il pianeta sotto, e hanno detto spacchiamo tutto, facciamo un versioning diverso. Siccome eravamo sotto Halloween si è scelto 13.
A proposito
ok, quindi il motivo è Halloween.
Io
Sì,
ricordo...
il motivo è Halloween, e perché porta sfiga tutti lo evitano il 13 e volevano usare.
Io ricordo che sul sito di Improve abbiamo il corso gratuito, quindi basta fare login con l'account ug.net, sul sito Improve c'è il corso Aspire gratuito di Tom, che adesso dovrà aggiornarlo anche solo per il titolo. Quindi l'ha promesso
aggiorna il titolo
prima,
e togli .NET, ci metti la barra sopra.
Quindi prendete e imparatene tutti. Questa è un'altra citazione, Alberto, hai visto?
E che citazione aggiungerei?
Quindi sì, no, è un motivo che ha senso, è un motivo che ha senso.
Sì. E non sappiamo cosa sceglieremo dopo, cioè adesso c'è Aspire 13, si pensava di cominciare a seguire la sequenza di Fibonacci a caso magari, oppure andare soltanto per numeri primi.
E poi ricordo, già che siamo qui, che sono aperte le iscrizioni per lo streaming della .NET Conference. Ok? Tanto così chiudiamo il momento piccolo spazio pubblicità, però siccome in agenda ci sono più o meno tutti i temi di cui si è parlato oggi, and then some, perché avremo C# 14, avremo Blazor di .NET 10, cosa c'è di nuovo, le novità di ASP.NET Core Identity, sviluppo cross-platform con .NET 10, Aspire. Vedete che questa è l'ultima volta che lo vedrete, ve l'abbiamo messo tra parentesi, fategli e con le mani e con le mani e con le mani ciao ciao, perché non lo vedrete più. Insomma, per chi è riuscito a prendere il biglietto, ci vediamo il 28 novembre in Microsoft, e per chi non ha fatto in tempo, iscrivetevi allo streaming, e la prossima volta iscrivetevi il giorno in cui lo annunciamo, nel senso che vi do dei numeri, giusto per intenderci. La sede Microsoft ha, se proprio spigni 160 posti, ok? In totale trasparenza, sto andando a recuperare il foglio Excel. Il primo giorno, quando non l'abbiamo neanche annunciato, è stato l'11 settembre. Porca, l'11 settembre, porca miseria. L'11 settembre non l'abbiamo nemmeno annunciato, ma ho abilitato il form di iscrizione su Eventbrite e ne sono arrivati 43. Proprio patapem, subito così. Cioè, valutate che era un giovedì, quindi giovedì e venerdì non abbiamo detto granché, forse ho fatto un post su LinkedIn, però è il martedì dopo che è partita la newsletter. Sta di fatto che tra quel giovedì e il martedì abbiamo fatto 99 iscrizioni.
Cavoli.
Quindi quando vi dico, cioè Global Azure non è stato ancora messo in nessuna newsletter, niente di che. Mancano 142 giorni perché è il 13 di aprile, oggi di novembre, e ci sono 51 iscritti.
Però
Cioè, anche Cloud Day stra sold out. Ricordatevi sempre che noi organizziamo eventi o gratuiti quando riusciamo o quando sono a pagamento, tipo abbiamo i biglietti adesso del Web Day a 39 euro, anche col 2x1, quindi 19,50 euro fino a lunedì prossimo, ma anche quando sono a pagamento sono a copertura delle spese. E quando vi dico iscrivetevi appena li pubblichiamo è perché vanno via, ed è un peccato poi se qualcuno che è veramente interessato non riesce a partecipare. Quindi avremo sarà una bella giornata, avremo anche Matteo con il sviluppo di agenti per Office 365. Questa sono curioso io di vederla, voglio vedere la parte AI in locale, perché qui accanto a me c'è un Ryzen AI 375, quelli con l'NPU e quant'altro, e quindi non vedo l'ora di poterlo usare di più e meglio. Quindi no. Aspire, AI, direi che oramai difficile farne a meno.
Sì, direi.
E anche Agent Framework adesso è un'altra bel macro argomento.
Sì, gli darò un'occhiata seria, perché questa roba qua sul sito Improve, che è la parte privata, Play, scusatemi, poi Learning Path, percorsi, qua, questa roba qua è quella che permette di dire quello che ti interessa fare, di esprimere un'intenzione, no? Voglio diventare uno sviluppatore, bla 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 bla, e vi crea i learning path, cioè vi crea queste robe qua. Spoiler, noi i learning path che poi condividiamo li creiamo così, e semplicemente c'è una feature di sharing come lo share delle playlist Spotify che semplicemente non abbiamo ancora abilitato per gli account, ma quando crei un learning path puoi condividerli come le playlist di Spotify, perché l'idea è che così, tant'è vero, vi faccio sorridere, noi li creiamo facendo login sul sito di Improve con l'account di Improve, e quindi è con quell'account che andiamo qua, creiamo i learning path e poi li salviamo e quindi da lui appaiono dentro Mai, facciamo condividi, e quindi la piattaforma sa che quelli condivisi dall'utente Improve diventano per tutti. Però quando voi create i vostri potete condividere alla stessa maniera, perché l'idea è che così, no, mi interessa questa roba, me la aggiungi ai preferiti e te la ritrovi tra i tuoi. Per questa roba qua noi usiamo Microsoft Extensions AI, perché e le sue astrazioni, perché poi come store vettoriale usiamo Quadrant, e usiamo Llama, però tramite l'API di OpenAI.
Ah sì.
E in totale onestà di fatto non usiamo semantic kernel, perché dato il nostro scenario, ma qua diventerebbe un po' lunga, che a chi dovesse interessare ne parliamo il 28, Cioè,
Sì,
no,
sì,
non,
sì, no,
non
certo.
ho, non ho talk zero, perché la mia regola di base è che se organizzo un evento non tengo talk, però se al coffee break o alla sera ci andiamo a mangiare una pizza, se ne parla, avevo delle riserve sul semantic kernel. Adesso voglio riprovarci, voglio provare a ridare un'occhiata al nuovo framework, perché tanto essendo basato sulle stesse astrazioni, se oltre a usare le stesse astrazioni anche la parte, chiamiamola di orchestrazione, dovesse tanto meglio, perché
Sì,
è
l'idea adesso è
lavoro.
quella. È proprio basato su MiAI, tant'è che poi se usi MAF puoi buttare via i pacchetti MiAI perché se li porta dietro lui, chiaramente, ma puoi fare uno scale up da un sistema banalmente di client LLM con MiAI su un sistema agentico in maniera abbastanza rapida, e poi la parte di workflow, orchestrazione, eccetera.
È molto interessante la parte di Agent Framework, ed è già in backlog di Spike Time, non dico quando, però è in backlog di Spike Time, assolutamente.
Bravissimo.
Insieme a MCP, tra le altre cose, tutti gli argomenti sono già nel backlog di Spike Time, perché non si possono non provare ora come ora, hanno un peso troppo importante, quindi...
E certo.
E poi onestamente sono super interessanti. Vuoi mettere a fare una live in cui fai una roba agentica o ti fai un NCP fatto in casa in qualche modo, cioè io mi divertirei un casino, cioè solo pensiero già mi sto divertendo seriamente, non è per quello che l'ho messo nel backlog, non per altro, però sì.
E tra l'altro, sempre per .NET Conference, registratevi per la parte streaming, anche se non pensate di vederla in tempo reale, perché quando poi fate il login sul sito Improve, che dove facciamo il player per gli eventi di tutte le community, quindi anche del Global Azure, Unità Milano, stiamo facendo un player unico perché così abbiamo meno codice da supportare, anche perché siamo 3 ciula a implementarlo, cioè non è che siamo in 14.000. Però se siete registrati ad un evento, dopo avete accesso offline, cioè non offline, sì, chiamiamo offline nel senso di dopo, ok? Dopo l'evento ai video. Quindi vale per .NET Conference, vale per i Global Azure, quindi essendo .NET Conference totalmente gratuito, iscriversi è davvero questione di venire di andare sul sito, cliccare su iscriviti, appare il widget di Eventbrite, mettere nome, cognome, indirizzo email. Non è che ci sia chissà che da fare, quindi altre cose che vengono in mente dalla chat. Non arrivano più domande, quindi sarà che
stanno cominciando a cucinare.
Può darsi.
Mi sa, allora effettivamente
va bene, abbiamo dato. Io devo cominciare a installare, quindi insomma ognuno sì, cioè posso tranquillamente mangiare della frutta a cena, ma non dormo, cioè non dormo se non ho Visual Studio installato, che mi ha compilato la solution qua di Agora più Camden, che sono il CMS più la piattaforma. Jody dice: io sono al prosecco.
Bravo Jody.
Buono Jody, buono.
Bravo, grande Jody.
Tempo che si dà un'occhiata seria a tutto è arrivato da te 11. E la questione è tutto su quel serio che tu hai detto, cioè lì fare finta, fai finta. Impara a far finta. No, qua ok, abbiamo capito che il capo ha detto
si è sentito
no. Quando il capo dice,
quando il capo chiama, Alberto risponde.
Esatto, questo forum, così è deciso, l'udienza è tolta.
Sì,
Direi, vabbè, grazie a chi ci ha ascoltato, a chi ha chiacchierato, e ci vediamo, ci sentiamo per l'NET Conference, ma in realtà con Alberto vi sentite, vi vedete una settimana sì, una settimana no per Spike Time. Mi raccomando, canale Telegram, newsletter e quant'altro, così quando annunciamo le cose scegliete subito di farci compagnia. Grazie a voi, grazie Mike, grazie Leo, grazie Jody. Jody un po' meno per le foto che mi manda su WhatsApp durante la live, ma gli voglio bene anche per questo. E a posto, cuore grande, viva .NET.
Ciao a tutti.
Ciao.
Ciao a tutti.
Ciao.
Ciao.